Welcome back, everyone. If you're a focused learner looking to truly understand how massive engineering organizations actually protect their most valuable assets, you're in the exact right place. Today, we're walking through a fascinating explainer on a complete architectural blueprint for cybersecurity. We're looking at PC Group's absolutely massive ISO 27001 Information Security Manual. I'm telling you, this isn't just a basic list of IT rules. It's a comprehensive guide to building a literal digital fortress.
So here's the million-dollar question. How does a massive engineering company actually keep its data safe? Think about the sheer volume of threats out there today. We aren't just talking about a lone hacker in a basement anymore. We're dealing with incredibly sophisticated cyber threats, physical security breaches, and complex supply chain vulnerabilities. When you're handling sensitive industrial automation and digital solutions, a few passwords and a firewall simply won't cut it. You need a robust, heavily structured defense.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to walk through 5 key phases today. 1. Defining PC Group's ISMS. 2. Leadership and organization context. 3. Assessing and treating risks. 4. Support and daily operations. And 5. Evaluation and continual improvement.
Starting off with Section 1, Defining PC Group's ISMS. Let's look at the blueprint of this digital fortress.
Before we can really understand the specific tactics they use, we need to establish exactly what this system is and, why it even exists in the first place. ISMS stands for Information Security Management System. PC Group's system is strictly aligned with the ISO 27001:2022 standard. Now, the core mission here is threefold: to protect the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of their information assets. And what's really fascinating is the massive scope of this. This isn't just for one single office. This policy applies across the entire umbrella of PC Group companies like Prokahaya Industries, Y&Y Technology, and PC Control and Engineering, securing everything from design to the actual installation of industrial automation.
And this brilliantly illustrates the Plan, Do, Check, Act lifecycle. An ISMS is not some dusty, static rulebook sitting on a shelf. It's a continuous, ongoing loop. You plan your security, you do the implementation across engineering and IT, you check the results through audits and monitoring, and you act to correct any vulnerabilities you find. And then, the cycle starts all over again. It's a living framework designed to adapt.
Moving into Section 2, Leadership and Organization Context. This is all about setting the foundation.
You can't build a digital fortress in a vacuum, right? You have to thoroughly understand the environment you're operating in. PC Group carefully scopes its defenses by mapping out both internal and external challenges. On the internal side, they're looking at things like securing the management budget, ensuring employee awareness, and mitigating the very real VPN risks that popped up when we all suddenly started working from our living rooms. But they also look outward. External issues include monitoring vendor response times during an incident, staying ahead of legal regulations, and, get this, even preparing for massive external disruptions like climate change.
And when you're mapping this out, a true security system actually has to satisfy very different stakeholders simultaneously. It's like a giant puzzle. Just look at the contrast here. Internally, employees need clear policies to do their jobs securely. HR has to protect personal data, and IT absolutely requires the budget and tools to monitor the infrastructure. But externally, customers are demanding strict project confidentiality, and regulatory authorities are demanding legal compliance with heavy legislation, like the Cybersecurity Act 2024. The ISMS has to balance and satisfy all of these competing needs.
To manage all that complexity, they use a highly structured 3-level document hierarchy. Think of these as the load-bearing walls of the ISMS. Level 1 is the high-level Information Security Manual. This dictates the overarching scope and policy. Level 2 gets more specific with master records, which includes things like risk registers and a statement of applicability. That's basically a master checklist of which security controls actually apply to them. Finally, Level 3 is entirely operational. This is where that high-level policy translates into actionable, daily steps, the actual procedures, forms, and the records used for audit proof.
All right, Section 3, Assessing and Treating Risks. We're building the armor now.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual detective story, where they proactively hunt for vulnerabilities. It's a meticulous 4-step process. Step 1 is risk identification, actively finding threats to the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of their data. Step 2 is risk analysis, where they assess the actual likelihood and the impact of that threat happening. Step 3 is risk evaluation, which is all about prioritizing those threats based on their risk level. Finally, Step 4 is risk treatment. This is where they actually take action. They either implement controls to reduce the risk, avoid it entirely, transfer it, or accept it based on strict criteria.
Now, you might assume information security is purely about hackers and malware, right? But interestingly, PC Group explicitly recognizes climate change as a data threat. Floods, fires, power interruptions, or water leakage can physically destroy servers, wipe out backup media, and completely halt business continuity. To put that into perspective, it proves that a robust ISMS accounts for highly physical, real-world threats just as much as it does the digital ones.
Section 4, Support and Daily Operations. Time to man the defenses.
So a fortress is completely useless if the guards fall asleep at their posts. When you look at their operational controls, you realize very quickly that cybersecurity is a company-wide responsibility. It is absolutely not just an IT job. Yes, for sure, IT monitors the networks and cloud security. But engineering is specifically responsible for protecting sensitive design files for factory machinery like PLCs and SCADA systems. HR is tasked with secure onboarding and conducting mandatory awareness training. Finance acts as a guard securing payment and tax records. And the supply chain team is on the front lines evaluating external suppliers and making sure they sign non-disclosure agreements. Every single department acts as an individual guard on the wall.
And that company-wide responsibility is captured perfectly in this quote straight from the manual. People doing work under PC Group shall be made aware of their contribution to the effectiveness of the ISMS and the implications of not conforming. The overarching lesson here, the most expensive, state-of-the-art technology is going to fail instantly without employee awareness training and a genuinely strong internal culture of compliance. Finally, Section 5, Evaluation and Continual Improvement. Let's install the security cameras.
So, the crucial point is, if you've built the fortress and manned the walls, how do you know the armor hasn't rusted? The magic number here is 1. The Information Security Management Committee, or ISMC, along with top management, must conduct a formal internal audit and a management review at least 1 time per year. They do not just set this whole system up and hope for the best. They mandate an annual top-down review to ensure the system's continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness against any new threats.
And during those reviews, they aren't just looking at vague, high-level summaries. They literally trace the entire chain of evidence. They evaluate the incident reports and corrective actions, and then they demand to see the actual backup logs and proof of restoration tests to guarantee recoverability. They review vulnerability scans and patch records, audit supplier non-disclosure agreements, and even check physical security metrics like the CCTV and visitor logs at the front door. It is a highly evidence-based approach to making sure every single control is actually functioning out there in the real world.
Which leaves us with a critical question to end this explainer. Is your organization's data truly secure, or are you just hoping for the best? We've just walked through the immense rigor of PC Group's ISO 27001 blueprint, from mapping out climate change risks all the way to legally binding supplier NDAs and mandated annual audits. Take a moment to compare this structured, fortress-like approach against the defenses where you work. Because in today's landscape, if your security relies on just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best, it's really only a matter of time before the walls come down. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.